Welcome, Annie Collins here for Paper Sweeties. Today we're going to create this Mother's Day card. Let me go over the products I used to create this card. I used the Build a Gnome Add-on spring set, and this has a variety of images and sentiments like happy, hoppy, bunny, hugs and kisses, mom, mothers, and day. We're going to use the elements of the flower and the leaf and the words Happy Mother's Day. This has the sweet cuts that coordinate to cut out all the images from this set. I have an embossing folder from my stash. We're going to use that along with an 80-pound cardstock and 110-pound cardstock for our card. I also am bringing in a tag and a doily, some twine. I have our sentiments stamped out, which is Happy Mother's Day, and I went ahead and stamped and cut all of our images, which are flowers. I have a total of 6. I have 2 yellow, 2 pink, and 2 purple, and a few leaves here. I'm also going to bring in some sequins from my stash, but I will link below the Daffodil mix, which is a spring set. Alright, so let's go ahead and clear the desk so we can get started. We're going to start by embossing our card panel here, and I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of water and then run it through my die cutting machine using the embossing folder settings. So now that we have it here. It's nice. We're going to trim it down to 4 by 5.5. Right now it's 4 1/4 by 5.5, but I'm going to bring 4 1/4 by 5.5. I'm going to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4 so that I can have a nice mat all around my card once I place it around my panel, once I place it on my card base, I should say. Okay, so now that's trimmed, I'm going to adhere this to our card base. Now this embossing folder has it where you can use either side, but I'm going to use this side where all the little design is facing up, almost like little arrows facing up. So I'm going to bring in some Barely Art glue to adhere my card panel to my card base. This card comes together pretty quickly because the tag is a pre-cut tag. I got it from one of those embellishment packs, but you can create your own tag easily, cutting a tag shape with either a die or by yourself using your trimmer, and then put a little ink wash on the bottom and do the same thing with the reinforcer. Now this doily I've had in my stash for a while. This is all a light green. I picked that so that it has a nice coordinating color with our leaves. The pink matches our flowers, and then we have those little touches of the purple and yellow to round out our spring Mother's Day card. So I folded my doily into a triangle shape here, and then I adhered it to my tag. I'm trying to mimic when you pick up the flowers, you get a bunch of flowers, they come wrapped in the wrapper there. So I'm just going to do that. So now I'm going to adhere all my three of my flowers directly onto our tag, just tucked into our doily section here. And these are going to be adhered directly to the tag. The next 3 I will adhere using foam adhesive just to create some dimension. I'm going to adhere a few of our leaves as well, tucking them in here just under our flowers. I'm going to make sure that 2 stick right out from the corners here of our little doily. And then we're going to go ahead and keep adding our leaves, filling in any of those open spots. I have one more to add right here on the end next to the pink flower. Next we're going to bring in the other flowers, which I said I have popped up on some foam adhesive. Well, actually I'm putting foam adhesive on the back of them right now. And then I will arrange them in the opposite direction. So I had pink, yellow, purple. Now I'll have purple, pink, yellow. Just to give the variety of the flowers so they're not stacked directly like in a row of the same color. I'm going to quickly add those on here. And I keep adjusting, and I'm laying it basically on top of the doily opening here because I want them to look like they're coming out of like the bouquet is coming out. of the doily. I'm going to add our leaves. I'm just going to tuck those here and there. One here, and then one more right by our pink flower right there. Once those are in, we're going to adhere our tag to our card base. I'm sorry, before we do that, I'm going to tie a little string onto our little doily here. It's just to create, I'm going to tie this into a bow, this twine, just to create like the little, like when you get the bouquet wrapped in the the wrapper there. It's always tied off with a nice string or a ribbon. So we're going to do, that's what we're going to mimic. So I tied it off, did some bunny ears, and then cut it, and then trimmed it. Oh my goodness, created bunny ears and turned it into a bow. I'm going to bring in a glue dot to adhere our little bow to our doily here. And I'm trimming it down because I don't have any more of my tiny glue dots, so I have only the big ones. So I'm going to make it smaller by trimming it down, rolling it a little bit, and placing it behind my bow. Now I'm going to trim the tails of my bow a bit. And now we're going to adhere our tag to our card and our Mother's Day sentiment. But before I did that, I wanted to add a little something to our topper. So I'm just going to take some tulle here, and I cut 2 strips of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and fishtail the ends, and then I'm going to put all those together, twist it, and I'm going to push it through the tag hole, and then I'll make a little loop and pull my tails through that little loop, and now I have something decorative on my tag here, so it's not so blah. And this also adds a different little texture to our tag. So now that I have that, I will now adhere my tag and sentiment, but I need to trim my sentiment down a bit. I'm going to remove this little end here, and I know I'm going to want some foam adhesive behind that just to add a little something more. So I'm going to get a little foam strip, and I'm going to trim it down to the size of my sentiment and adhere that to the back of my sentiment. So I'm going to get my Barely Art glue, and I'm going to adhere our tag to our card base, and I place that there. And now I'm going to, I need to scooch it down a bit because I want the tool to stick out a bit, but it was my tag was just a little too high. So I'm going to go ahead and add my foam adhesive behind my sentiment and place that across the tag like so. Make sure it's straight, press it into place. So now I'm going to bring in my sequins, and these are pastel sequins, but again, these are from my stash. I'm going to link below the Daffodil set mix because that's the same pastel sequins. It's just that I didn't have that mix in my at the time of making this video. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull out a few purples, pinks, and yellow sequins and place them some around my sentiment, and then a few was tucked in within the bouquet of the flowers, just to give a little bit of extra shimmer and finishing touches there. So I get this little guy in here. Oh, okay. It kept sticking to my finger rather than anything else, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just tucking this sequence just behind our little leaf here. Same thing with the pink one here. I just want to nestle them. I don't want them standing too much out of the bouquet. And I'm going to add one more up here, a light purple one up here. And I thought about putting a yellow one over there, and I didn't like it. So I am complete. Here's our card. It's all complete. We have this beautiful bouquet of flowers for our Mother's Day card. And the tag gives us a nice place to set them on. And we have a wonderful texture in the background from our embossing folder. So again, we used the Build a Gnome Add-on spring set and sweet cuts that coordinate with them. to create our Happy Mother's Day card. Like always, I'll have everything linked in the description box below. I hope you found some inspiration. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.